All righty. Week 7 already. This season has really gone fast. And I don't know how many teams are going into week 7 in the country, but there can't be many. But we're strolling around and ready for an incredibly strong, powerful, explosive Notre Dame football team, really in all 3 phases. When you watch them, they keep it pretty simple on defense. They're comfortable doing what they do. They're strong, like I said, and really play good defense. And then offensively, with their 3 tight ends that they put in there, all at different times, they're strong. Probably the 3 best tight ends we've seen all year, including the freshman, the young guy 87 who comes in, Michael Mayer, comes in passing situations. From top to bottom, I think they're strong at tight end, and then the running backs, of course, are really good. The offensive line, all the starts that they have, they're strong up front. So it's going to be a battle. Questions?
Yeah. What do you see on film from their linebacker number 6, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah?
I see a physical dude. He's explosive. I mean, if you try to throw a bubble out there, to the field, he's going to blow it up. I mean, he's just a really, really physical. He snaps on you. I don't know how big he is. Let me see what it says on the depth chart here. It says 215 pounds. That's what I was going to say. He's not like this big guy, but I tell you what, he'll knock you out. He's physical, very explosive. So our guys got to be, keep their head on a swivel, make sure that that he doesn't knock you out. I mean, he's a good football player. He makes a lot of plays.
Pat, do they bring a lot of guys, or do they rely on their size and winning one-on-one battles?
They'll bring, when they get down to the red zone, they'll bring more pressure, but they like to win their one-on-one battles. They play really good base defense like we do. We probably have a few more change-ups, but we play a lot of base defense, so they're very similar. Clark Lee does an outstanding job, obviously. He's got those guys believing in, calling just base defense is a good thing to me. And I love playing base defense because our guys play it well. And he's got the same philosophy as, hey, our guys feel comfortable running base defense. And, they know what to do, which allows them to play fast, which has always been my philosophy. They get down to the red zone, we expect to see more zero pressure. And we've seen zero pressure the last few weeks, down in that area. So we expect to see it. We've got to pick it up. We've got to get the ball out. We've got to pop some runs on them too when they do get into that situation.
Pat, how did Joey Yellen look this week from a confidence standpoint, and how's he working with the receivers?
He's doing a great job. I mean, he looked pretty good last week. I'd say he looked just as good or better. So he's confident. Again, Joey's like this every single day. It's not like, oh man, he threw a bad pass. It doesn't go up and down. He just stays just like this. And he'll actually, after practice, if he doesn't hit a throw he wants, he sits after practice and he gets another throw in. He's like, I want to see that route again. So we'll have one of the wideouts run that route so he can hit it. So he's detailed and very conscientious of what he's doing and how he's doing it. He's worked on ball security in the pocket and wants, he knows that was a weakness a week ago and he doesn't want to have, that be a problem this week.
Pat, I think I know the answer to this question, but I want to hear it.
Okay, good. Next question. Go ahead.
I want to hear it in your words. Well, my words don't matter. When you're preparing for a team, you don't know for sure who the quarterback's going to be. In what way is that a disadvantage for the defense?
I don't think it's a disadvantage this week for them because they've at least seen both quarterbacks on tape, what they do. So, I think, the work you put on tape is your resume, so they know who he is now. If Joey's the guy. And, I think they have a pretty good idea what they're going to see. I think the element of not knowing who it is or what it is, and again, maybe it's Davis Bevel this week. You don't know. Maybe it's Kenny Pickett. So I think that's the issues you deal with, I guess, Jerry. If I answered that, I don't know.
But how did?
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jerry.
I'm going to say in your head right now who your quarterback's going to be.
I'm going to go back and watch the practice tape today, but I got a pretty good idea.
How did Davis respond, Pat? How was Davis's week of practice?
Davis had a good week. He had a better week of practice this week than he had last week. So that's encouraging, which, you hope he does week 2 of working. So he was pretty good.
Is their
Anybody else?
secondary? Their secondary. They don't have a lot of picks, but they get their hands on a lot of balls, don't they?
They get a lot of PBUs. They break on the ball well. They're going to play a lot of quarters to the field and play a lot of half field to the boundary. Sometimes all full quarters, but picks are not easy to get, and sometimes when you're playing base, you don't get it. When you change it up more, you do get them. But when you change it up, you also could be susceptible to something else happening to you too. So there's a good and bad that goes with that.
Pat, this is a pretty, historical game. Pitt and Notre Dame, two of the oldest college football teams out there. I mean, maybe before you got here, what were your impressions of, whenever Pitt and Notre Dame lined up?
Impressions before I got here, you don't know, but I think, it's another game. I hate, I want to sit here and say it's a rival, old school. I played it. This will be our third time, I think. Has it been 3 or 2? I don't even know. I think this will be the second time, right?
Third time.
That's right. It's third. Maybe they came here the first one of the first 2 years. So, it's another game. It's you can't say it's just I don't think any of our kids will look and say, oh, we played this game back in 19 whatever. They don't really care. It's they remember 2 years ago. They remember what happened when we were there. We had a lot of young guys playing on that team. As you watch the tape, and it's another game really.
Pat, Randy talked this week about, the effect of missing some guys on that defense. You talked about playing your 7th game in 7 weeks. How much do you feel like this team is kind of starting to feel the grind of the season a little bit from a physical standpoint?
We'll find out Saturday. We try to keep them a little bit fresher this week. Went a little shorter today, because of that. It's always a concern when, you're going into your 7th game and they're going into the 4th, and they had they played 2 games, took 2 off. Played 2 games and so, that's obviously an advantage for them being fresher. But our guys are strong, and obviously, we've gotten banged up at times and lost a few guys. Anytime you're playing games, you're going to lose guys. Anytime you're sitting on the bench or sitting at home watching TV and watching everybody else play, you're obviously going to stay a little bit fresher. So that's just part of the ball game. We'll have a chance after this weekend to take, a little bit of a break. I've got to get them fresh, and we'll also have a chance to focus on our school and just again 7 games. We'll be okay.
Pat, I know you said on Monday that Keyshawn was day by day. Is that still the case with him?
Yeah, Keyshawn's had a nice week. You'll see number 10 out there.
You mentioned that Notre Dame knows both quarterbacks. Does that mean they had to prepare during the week to both quarterbacks? Do you like the fact that maybe they're going to spend some time on a quarterback that might not play? Not really, Jerry. I don't think there's that big of a difference. It's just who it is. Don't make too much of the quarterback deal. We do a lot of the same things. Take the run game, for example. The run game is the same. You hand the ball off the same way, whether you're under center or in the gun. It's just knowing who they are in the pocket, knowing what they like to do. I think that's the biggest thing. But as far as just schematically what we're going to do, every week we got different change-ups in the passing game. So, they still don't know what routes we're going to run, what concepts we have. I think that's the main thing. But knowing who's pulling the trigger and I think that's just knowing. It's just the knowing. It seems like, too often we've faced where, we're doing okay against the number 1 guy. All of a sudden his backup comes in. It's like, who is this guy? And all of a sudden you don't know. So sometimes there's the fear of the unknown. But they've seen both guys, really seen all 3 of them. Maybe they'll see 4. Maybe you see Nick Patty this weekend too.
Pat,
never know. Nick Patty, watch out.
I know you've been talking about the running game being an issue. If you could point to maybe 1 or 2 things that you feel like if you do better this week than you have in the past would give you some more success in the running game.
We got to block them better, it's a combination of everything. There's not just one thing, and I can give you one thing, but, number 1, give the fronts, give the defenses credit. Sometimes they just got them moved, the right way, whatever it may be, but we've got to block them up front, and we got to do a better job of reading with our tailbacks. Last week, there's some times where, our guys aren't, cutting the right way. Okay. Put it that way. They're they're not making the right cuts. They're cutting too early. They got to stretch it and set the blocks up. Sometimes running backs got to set the blocks up and help the O-line. So to me, the running backs, go in conjunction with our O-line. I mean, if we're trying to run a play this way and the cutback and then tailback cuts back, I mean, those guys have eyes. And Notre Dame will do a good job at having 22 eyes on your offense. But if you cut back too early and don't let the thing stretch and then puncture it a little bit, I think those are things that hurt you. So the O-line and the running back, they've got to be on the same page, and you can't get antsy. I mean, sometimes running backs just want to get the ball and go north and south, but you got to set it up and you got to put your foot in the ground and puncture it when you can.
Are you expecting to have Izzy back?
Yes.
That way to ask you about your quarterback. What about Ian Book? Obviously, you saw him last time you guys played. He's been around a while. How much does he use his feet? Are they more design, or is it just him, getting away from rushers?
It's a little bit of both. Jeff, first of all, he's a leader. Okay, so he's won a lot of football games there. He's smart. He's not going to he knows he's got a good defense, so he's not going to go take chances of chucking the ball down the field when he doesn't have to. He'll use his feet. To me, he's a guy that manages the game the way it's supposed to be when you got a defense that has stopped people like they have. So he's not worried about scoring 48 points and throwing for 350 yards and 4 TDs. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about managing the game, doing things, the way, Brian Kelly and Tommy want it done. And, so he makes good decisions. And, what else can you ask for a quarterback is to make good decisions and play within yourself and in the game of football. He will use his feet to scramble. He's fast. And they also have design runs for him. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a Notre Dame offense get down in the red zone and run quarterback lead zone. Okay. Ever, in all my days at Michigan State that we played them. I don't know how many times we played them up there, but I don't ever remember, running a quarterback lead zone out of the gun. And they got physical backs. I mean, Williams he can block you too. So I see why they do it. And it's a numbers game. They got an additional blocker instead of, a guy just handed it off to them. So they got a tailback that can go up and block and knock the heck out of you, and a quarterback that's not afraid to run the ball. So those are the things you see maybe a little bit different. There are more design runs. Expect to see them, probably run a little bit more when they get down to the red zone, when the yards get tight and it gets hard down there. And again, he manages the game well.
You mentioned Williams blocking. How have you guys kind of assessed your guys' running backs, the pass blocking, especially over the last couple weeks here?
Some good, some bad. I mean, it's not, it depends on, what they're bringing at you, what you're prepared for, what you're not prepared for. But, obviously Todd Sibley's the best back there. Really feel comfortable with him, and A.J. Davis are two of our better pass protectors. And probably see those guys more in passing downs as well as, obviously they both can carry the ball as well because they're both big backs. Vince Davis has been solid in protection as well. I mean, he's a little guy, but, he's not afraid to strike you and chop you. He's not going to be to stand up and take it. But, it's been solid. And again, it's all, starts with the communication with the O-line and knowing where you are, where the protection is being slid. If it's man protection, what type of protection is it? So there's a lot of different things that go into pass protection, but, we can obviously be a lot better.
Sitting at 3-3 after you started 3-0, but having a very good opponent coming into Heinz Field this week, how much do you consider this game an opportunity to kind of regain some of the momentum you had at the beginning of the season?
It's an opportunity to go 1-0. I mean, I'm not looking in the rearview mirror, nor do I want our kids to look at me. It's a one-game season, and we got a great team coming in here that that we get to play. We got an opportunity. We get number 7, and you can't look back and say, well, God, we got to get this one because we lost 3 straight. That's it's the next game, and that's the only thing I hope our kids are worried about. That's the only thing I'm worried about is one game. I'm not worried about what happened in the past because the past means absolutely nothing, as you saw. I mean, what did the 3-game win streak do for us? Looking back saying, hey, we're 3-0, 3-0. Oh, that's great, isn't it? Look, hey, we're 3-0. That doesn't mean anything. Nobody cares what you did last week. I don't care what happened down in Miami last week. I'm worried about making sure our football team is ready mentally and physically this week, to take on a great Notre Dame team.